I don't think we as a society, as a world, I don't think nobody taught us how to be alone. I think we're afraid to be alone, right? So then when something like this comes, which is basically it's a pandemic of isolation, right? So when something like this comes along, you're forced to be with yourself. Now, in the era of checking the cell phones all the time and being distracting it's almost like the whole environment is against self-reflection or quietness.
This is a generation that actually saw for the first time in their lives someone being murdered, killed on television. That impact is not going away. It almost reminds me of my dad, who was from the South, who actually witnessed a lynching that stayed with him the rest of his life. He was 7 years old and you don't lose that stuff. You learn how to deal with it.
I'll tell you frankly, there's certain days I'm happy to be masked, so I can just move in and out.
It's hard not to harbor any ill will towards people who don't understand that side of the equation. Some people will think it's maybe, oh yeah, no, it's not that big of a deal. I know people who've had it and they've been fine. And then you get the stories from some of the, healthcare workers like my husband that are, really gruesome and really tragic and horrible. People dying, in pain and alone. And it's not a pleasant, it's horrible.
I remember when I was a kid, the night I was sitting with my parents and John F. Kennedy was shot. I remember that when I was a little girl. And I remember seeing the fear on my parents' face, and I didn't really know what was going on, but I knew that something bad was happening, and I was scared. And I remember that to this day. I'm 62 years old. I'm almost 63. And I remember that to this day. It was just, you can feel the fear in the air. And I think that's what it was for the kids. They knew we were scared. They knew all of a sudden it was like, shut down, call your parents, let's go.
I typically have 35, 37 students in a classroom. They don't turn on their cameras. Now, you could, naughty students, you're not turning on your cameras, but there's all kinds of reasons because they didn't choose this online venue. They may not have a camera. They may not have the bandwidth to use a camera. They might be in a situation where they're not dressed appropriately, or they're in their bedroom, which they share with somebody else, and they don't want, the camera. So there can be all kinds of reasons why they're not using their cameras. So as faculty members, we can't insist that they use their cameras because we don't know the reasons why they're not. You have to be respectful of their choices.
Going into 2020 in general, I had a grandma that unfortunately passed away, so it was a hard time for me to come in. And since this happened in March, it was just around my birthday, I would say 11 to 8 days, somewhere around that till my birthday was. And it was just a really hard time for me to adjust in general.
I'm telling you, 2020 sucked.
I had waited forever to live alone again. I've had two husbands and 3 children. And the last time I lived alone was 1969. And so I was great with this. So I could write when I wanted. I could paint when I wanted. It's a very small town. I live off of a dirt road. I can go outside, nature, I can walk. I did not have some of the problems that some people did. And I was careful, but I'm not obsessive either.
That's the irony of America. We rely on children to raise us. That's our mistake. We had no legendary fathers. We had no legendary mothers. We arrived on boats and it was the sick kids that survived. And those were the ones that became our forefathers and became America. Think about that. We were raised by teenage kids and we still act like it. So for me, If there's no justice with the George Floyd case, there's no justice, period.
It was quite, shocking, monumental. It was, there was a lot going on in my life at that time anyways. My mom was, on needing care, and all our siblings were all taking care of her that way. So,
and also a tool for sorting
look at the
things out.
news and just
I didn't know that.
you look at TV.
Anything about it. Nobody
then
knew anything about the
all of the values,
You didn't know if it was going to be. I was scared.
that really took a toll on me. When I got home, I looked it up, tried to find more information about it and everything.
Trying not to.
And that's
And
what
black
always
skin
about
that came together, the hippies and stuff. So when I look at Black Lives Matter today, it makes me feel good to see every ethnic group out there talking about it's time for a change. That makes me hopeful that one day, hopefully in my time, I will see
forever,
where
'cause I
people
forget myself sometimes.
respect, cultures respect us as who we are as people.
When we're driving in a car, you see the sirens, pull over and follow directions. Do what you're told. Don't give anybody a reason to think you're a threat.
If you believe something like, I don't know, not destiny, but something is bigger than us. It's happened for the reason. I hope that reason will change the world. For a better place.